Welcome to SLP Nerdcast, the #1 professional resource for evidence-based practice in speech-language pathology. I'm Kate Granbois.
And I'm Amy Wonka. We are both speech-language pathologists working in the field and co-founders of SLP Nerdcast.
Each episode of this podcast is a course offered for ASHA CEUs. Our podcast audio courses are here to help you level up your knowledge and earn those professional development hours that you need. This course, plus the corresponding short post-test, is equal to 1 certificate of attendance. To earn CEUs today and take the post-test after this session, follow the link provided in the show notes or head to slpnerdcast.com.
Before we get started, one quick disclaimer. Our courses are not meant to replace clinical advice. We do not endorse products, procedures, or other services mentioned by our guests unless otherwise specified.
We hope you enjoy the course.
Are you an SLP or related professional? The SLP Nerdcast Unlimited subscription gives members access to over 100 courses offered for ASHA CEUs and certificates of attendance. With SLP Nerdcast membership, you can earn unlimited CEUs all year at any time. SLP Nerdcast courses are unique, evidence-based, with a focus on information that is useful. When you join SLP Nerdcast as a member, you'll have access to the best online platform for continuing education in speech and language pathology. Join as a member today and save 10% using code NERDCASTER10. The link for membership is in the show notes.
Welcome, everyone, to today's episode. We are so excited to welcome back a guest who has been on our show before. Welcome, Dr. Ali Arena. You are here today to talk to us about the use of improv in therapy, and I'm so excited. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love being on with you guys.
Before we get started, and you put me through some very uncomfortable and awkward games and put me on the spot that you gave me a warning about. This is going to be an entertaining one, everybody. Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to know improv?
Yeah, okay. So it's actually interesting. I wanted to take improv because I was reading a trauma book and it helps you feel more in your body. The thought of being put on the spot was terrifying, which kind of made me be like, wait a second, I do that to my clients all the time because I'm asking them open-ended questions because that used to be a goal I would always have for people, right? And so I found improv through my cousin, she does it for a living, and then my really good friend, Maya Watkins, who I will refer to a decent amount in this presentation. She teaches it specifically for neurodiverse children. So her and I had paired up because she was, oh, you work with neurodiverse children. So do I. Let's run a group. And I really saw the power of not running a typical social skills group, right? I really saw the beauty in not having all the structure, going with the flow. So things that we're actually trying to teach these kids, but we don't model all that often. And I've just learned, improv is a pretty good rapport builder because I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, Kate. It's a little uncomfortable and it's good. It's kind of nice for, your clients to see, oh, you can feel uncomfortable too, or we're learning together. So I don't know. I just found it a great tool.
I am a creature of comfort. I don't like change and I like to be in my routine. So I'm already feeling a little nervous about what you're gonna do. But I think you make an amazing point that this is what we are asking people to do when they learn in our therapy rooms is to be vulnerable and be put on the spot and have to engage in something new and different that makes them uncomfortable. So I'm here for it. You're going to coach me through it and everything is going to be fine. It's going to be great. Before we get started, I do need to read our learning objectives. So learning objective number 1, identify the 4 competencies of the improv method that foster interpersonal relationships, facilitate healing from trauma, and that relate to neurodiverse minds. Learning objective number 2, identify 3 games that correlate with your specific therapeutic interventions. And learning objective number 3, identify the 3 core qualities of the improviser's mindset. Disclosures. Ali's financial disclosures. Ali received an honorarium for participating in this course. Ali's non-financial disclosures. Ali has no non-financial relationships to disclose. Kate, that's me, I am the owner and founder of Grand Bois Therapy and Consulting LLC and co-founder of SLP Nerdcast. My non-financial disclosures, I'm a member of ASHA SIG 12 and serve on the AAC Advisory Group for Massachusetts Advocates for Children. I'm also a member of the Berkshire Association for Behavior Analysis and Therapy and the Association for Behavior Analysis International with the corresponding speech pathology and applied behavior analysis special interest group. Okay, we've gotten through the boring stuff. I think we should start with you telling us a little bit about improv. So when I think of improv, I think of Saturday Night Live. I think of Second City, I think it's called.
Yeah, totally.
The famous school that teaches improv. I think of stand-up comedy. I don't think of intervention. So tell us a little bit more about what improv is.
Yeah, so it is exactly what you're saying, right? Improv is truly being in the moment and being flexible. So a big part of improv is a concept called yes and. So I want to go out this weekend and I want to have pizza. Yeah, and we should do this other thing. The other big part about improv is you can't be wrong. So it's not yes, and I want to go get pizza and then go to a circus, and someone can't go, no, there's no circus this weekend. You can't do that. You don't call people out. You really have to go with what a person is saying. So really talented improvisers, Will Ferrell, Steve Carell, these people, The Office, a lot of that's improvised. You have to realize they're really present and they're just listening to what the person is saying, taking that and making another thought with it. And when you look at that humor is so amazing because it's so simple. They're not doing anything crazy. They're just being present, being flexible, and they have enough knowledge to keep going back and forth in a conversation. So if you think about therapy, what we're really trying to do is help our students, clients, whatever words we want to use, to be more present, to have reciprocal conversation, to have more flexible thinking, to take perspective. And these are all things that an improviser is doing, but they learned them. Yes, I think some people have a natural skill, unlike you and I, who are, oh my God, don't put me on the spot.
Please don't do that to me.
They have learned these skills over time. Another thing about improvising is you have to be pretty good at reading people's body language. You have to be okay with the unexpected. That is what improv is. Tina Fey in her book, Bossy Pants, I don't know if you read that.
I've seen it. I haven't read it.
Talks about how improv is the secret weapon and how she talks about how the lipstick, basically someone just made that up. That's a creation that someone was, I'll just put in this little tube and then women could put it on their lips. She's like, that's a form of improvising. It really is just taking a concept and continuing to go with it.
I love the component of not being able to be wrong. I think that alleviates so much of the pressure and insecurity. I'm speaking for myself here. The pressure and insecurity that you might feel when you're in a vulnerable position, doing something new for the first time, and you don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to say something, quote, stupid. You don't want to be made fun of. You don't want to, there's all of this insecurity and worry about your actions. So if one of the rules is that you can't be wrong, how much more fun is that? That really alleviates so much of that pressure to perform, absolutely. I guess.
Yeah. And it's, schools are now using improv a lot as processing groups. With COVID, they would use it. They would just kind of have these classes where they play games, and we're going to play a game together. And it's more, you'll be surprised what kids will talk about. I did this 2 or 3 years ago, and a lot of kids would say Trump. They'd be like, Trump, Trump, Trump. And they were using it to be funny. But over time, they were also saying other words, nuclear war, financial destruction.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. So if this is what you're saying in improv, this is what's on your mind, right? Sometimes kids do it for reaction, but other times that's the thought that came to you that quickly. You're really thinking about this. So improv can also be a really good way to see what's on someone's mind, right? If you and I played
sort of like a free flow sort of stream of consciousness.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is the improv method as an intervention technique different from improv in general, or, as a general concept?
So I think with the method, what I did, and Maya Watkins, she's a social and emotional counselor and teacher, and she created these games. So I just want to give her credit as we start to play. But her and I really sat and we're okay, what are things that we're constantly working on with the kiddos that we see? And we realized we talk about self-agency a lot. We talk about executive functioning. We talk about interpersonal skills, and we talk about boundaries. But if I were to sit with you and I was, okay, Kate, we're going to talk about your boundaries. Are you following your time boundaries? Or do you have social boundaries?
I just fell asleep. I'm not here anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be here.
And also, you can't say the word boundaries to a 5-year-old. That doesn't do anything, right?
Right.
So we realized, okay, if these are things that we're talking about all the time, let's just create games that correlate with them. That's really what the improv method is. And I love it for my neurodiverse kids and anyone who's had a decent amount of trauma. And typically my trauma and neurodiverse kids they're both a lot of times, right? But because if you think about someone with a neurodiverse brain, they often struggle with being in the moment and attending because they're so in their head. They struggle with black and white thinking. They struggle with perspective taking. So if you're creating games that directly relate to these, it's just a different way to have fun in therapy. I don't know. Do you know who Esther Perel is? She's a famous psychologist.
No, I do not.
She is, I love her. She has one of those amazing therapy soothing voices. She has a great podcast, but her whole thing, she does a lot of couples counseling, but she just created a game and she did all this research about essentially play is what's healed a lot of couples, not intensive therapy, going back and forth with checklists. It was play. So that's where the improv method has come from.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really, really helpful. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about whether or not this intervention is used only in direct service from if in other words, if we have people who are listening and thinking, okay, this might be a really nice tool for me to use in my sessions. Is this something you can do one-on-one? Does it require a group? I'm thinking about, what I've seen in improv, I guess commercially, it's almost always a group of individuals. But is this something that you can easily incorporate into your sessions, regardless of what kind of service delivery model you have?
Yeah. So I love group purely just because you're getting more answers, right? Or you're getting more responses. But I do try to do improv a decent amount in my individual sessions as a continual rapport, loosen up. Sometimes with my ADHD kiddos, when they've just gone, to another place, I try to bring them back with an improv game. So I love this one game. I'll do one right now. That's called Zip, Zap, Zop, right? And literally when I get to Zop, you would turn and you and I would say a word, right? And let's say you said chocolate and I said milk. Then we're going to turn back around and go zip, zap, zop and see if we can get a word that's almost the same. So most likely you and I would say chocolate milk. But sometimes someone might say Spider-Man and I might say
I was going to say this sounds maybe harder than
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think
it's harder than maybe I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think again, so you're not going to be wrong, but you're also a clinician. So let's say you do 3 rounds of that and you're still saying you're trying and the kid's maybe not picking up on it. You're like, you know what? We need a new game. Let's try something different, right?
Okay.
So it's showing that flexibility. I love when I'm doing improv with a client and they're quicker than me. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, this is a part of your brain I haven't seen. So that's another cool thing about when you're doing it individually. You might see strengths you didn't know they had. There's a lot of research. I think it's even in our stuttering research, right? When kids are sort of acting or they're in a different form of themselves, you'll see a different version. They're able to turn off some of those other barriers and you can see them really blossom. So I think therapists have played games similar to this. Let's tell a story together. So a princess went to the forest and you can have a kid fill in, right? And then you keep going back and forth. So that's improv. It's being flexible. The other thing, and I should have said this at the beginning, improv does not require supplies. So that's why it's so beautiful for group. It's great for camp. It's great for parents in the car, right? There's no materials to do improv. It is all imaginary and it's all on the spot.
That sounds awesome. I'm
Yeah.
looking at our first learning objective. Do you have in these 4 competencies? I feel like you must have mentioned a handful of them already, or some of them already. Do you have a list, like a concrete list of the competencies that go into the successful application of the improv method?
Yeah. So again, it's hitting self-agency, executive functioning, interpersonal skills, and boundaries. But so what I do have is, we could go through, could I do a case study with you really quick to give you an example? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about Paul. Paul is 32. He is autistic. He also has some childhood trauma. He is, in a lot of ways, he's done really great. He's a personal trainer, but he's ready for more of a corporate job. And he realized he's actually really good at coding. So now he has to start interviewing. So originally I did the old school, okay, let's practice an interview back and forth. And I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to tell me answers. And it was the most painful thing ever. He actually deteriorated. I was, wait, no, we've had better conversations than this. What's happening? And I think I put him on the spot, right? So when I started to say things like, okay, let's just do yes and let's get you out of your head. Let's get movement going. I would have him play games and then we would start to do interview. He was much better. So with Paul, the fact that we did improv before, his confidence increased. So it's a little bit like an ABA principle of shaping too, right? Okay, let's do a lot of things that you're going to feel good and successful at and confident before going into maybe more of a strategic interview. The other thing about not being wrong is really helpful. If he says an answer that there's more, I can literally say, okay, yes, and tell me more about this, and tell me more about this. And by the end, we had a full answer. So I guess the competencies, the competencies is really that you're looking at what your client needs to do social and emotionally and seeing what games you can pair with it. And I can give you, Kate, after a handout of games that match.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
YouTube videos. I think it's helpful for people to have a little bit of a referent because it's hard vocally hearing someone do this. And then I know you had also asked about just kind of, so what is the improviser's mindset, right? And I think it's important to remember that an improviser is going to be flexible, right? So they're open, they're observant. And this is something that I think is really important as clinicians. We forget this. We can say, okay, new choice. So if someone's doing something that's not working, we can show, you know what, let's do a new choice. This happens a lot. I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation with a client where they've gone down the zone. Actually, I was just talking to a client who is very upset about our political climate, which fair, but he was going for a while. And so a little bit through it was, okay, you know what? We're going to be flexible right now. We're going to do a new choice of topic. And it's just such an easier way of saying, let's change the topic, as opposed to you've been on this topic too long and it's too long and you've gone too far. And
which is so much negative feedback. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't feel good. Right. I mean, that's, criticism.
Yeah.
Use plain language.
It is. But we, I think as clinicians, I'm guilty of this. So I'm not acting like I've never done that. I think we're taught so often our job is to support and in some ways correct, right? So we might go into that mode. And I think improv has taught me to be kinder and flexible in what I'm doing. So that's part of the improviser's mindset. So just adding flexibility. And also when you kind of have this mindset, you're able to simultaneously teach and learn. And what I mean about that is you're able to, when you're being flexible, I think you're able to take in what your client's saying a little bit more, as opposed to being so in your head of, okay, we did this goal, we have to move to this goal. And I've been there, we've all had crazy caseloads, but it just teaches you to be a little bit more flexible. The other big part of an improviser's mindset is receptivity. So it's patience to allow individuals to practice the task at hand. You have to trust your partner in improv. You have to trust the clinician. You have to trust other people. And you have to trust that everyone's being present in a game. And it also really talks about receptivity is listening, responding, and modeling. So let's say you and I are playing a game and you kind of say something that I'm like, oh, that was a little wacky. I can model how to bring it back, as opposed to, I am putting Kate on the spot. We did not rehearse this at all. Kate, what's your favorite?
Here it comes. I'm ready.
You ready? What's your favorite movie? But I want you to say something inappropriate. A movie that I would be, oh, we shouldn't talk about that one.
Let's see. Indecent Proposal.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Indecent Proposal.
It dates me too. It's fine. Moving on.
I could be like Indecent Proposal. Proposal. Isn't that when people get married? Who here has seen a movie where people get married, right? So it's just moving it, and I'm modeling a different way to talk about something. I'm also modeling an appropriate transition. But the receptivity is there in me saying Indecent Proposal. Okay, proposal, and moving on. So I'm not saying that movie is rated R. You shouldn't see that movie. Or how did you see that movie? Or
Right.
You're just
so it's a yes and instead of no, we don't talk about that here. That was inappropriate. Correct yourself. It's sort of reflecting and modeling a way to shift towards something that might be received differently.
Yes. And you're modeling it for kids because there are plenty of things that either are said to kids or that's around them that they don't know how to respond. So you're modeling how to transition appropriately. And you're facilitating trust that I can say whatever and you'll move it along. So let's say I literally had a kid do this one time. We were playing a categories game and he would just go Trump or butt. Those were the only things he would say to me. And so we'd go around and he would say Trump and I'd be like, yeah, Trump. Yes. And I would say orange hair. I'd be funny with it. And then a kid would go, oh, orange pony. So again, because when you pause, you make it weird for everyone, right? If you go, oh, he's saying Trump, that gives him an opportunity to start saying whatever else. So when you are more in the moment, you're able to move things along better. And the last core quality of an improviser's mindset is adaptation. So it's being able to adapt, right? So it's building off the strengths of each individual. It's having confidence that you're prepared for any situation that might come up while you're using your imagination.
That's huge.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
In life. I mean, I feel like I need to practice my own improv skills. I mean, these are really wonderful qualities to have in terms of quality of life and fulfillment as a person, not just because you have a communication disorder.
Absolutely. No, and that's why I think I love this so much. And it's the last part of adaptation is just like learning what triggers may arise and adjusting your behaviors in a thoughtful way. So, let's say I've had kids before. This actually has come up a lot. I work with a lot of clients who are very into anime. And I don't know if you know this, there's a huge debate over sub versus not subbed, right? And if you like subtitles, then you're not a true anime user, right?
Interesting.
So I've learned so much about just things I never knew about. But so I've been in debates with these individuals and we've been able to have them have the confidence to have their opinion, but to move on. So let's say I was like, no, Kate, if you don't listen to things without subtitles, you don't really enjoy Japanese culture. Okay, let's say I go there and you kind of sit there frozen. I can intervene and say, yeah, you know what? I don't know that much about Japanese culture. Can people start to tell me parts of Japanese culture, right? It's just a way of adapting what someone said. And if you do that enough, other people see it and they'll model that as well. That's what's really cool about these groups is I start to see kids do what I'm doing. They basically make me not important, which is amazing. They kind of try to get me out of the group. I think that's great.
That's awesome. Well, I think it might be time for you to give me some games. What are some
Yeah.
games
Okay.
that we can play?
So
And just for the sake of saying it for everybody who's listening at home, we will thank you so much for offering the handout.
Yeah.
It will be linked in the show notes, and we'll have it available for download for free on our website for anyone who is listening and would like to get a copy.
Perfect. I just need to Canva it up a little bit. It just is links at the moment. So, and I also, if people are interested, I can send you, I'll just confirm with Maya. She recorded some of these on YouTube. And what's really cool is she made them adaptable to both verbal and nonverbal children. So again, this is, you can use your
awesome
and be a part of improv. So here is actually, we didn't review this one, Kate. She's on the spot right now. This is one that you could do that's totally nonverbal. So Kate, I'm going to give you a ball and you can hold this ball, and based on how you're feeling, you can make the ball smaller, you can make it huge, you can make it medium, and you're going to pass it back to me. So here's your ball.
You're going to have to narrate for our listeners on the podcast what I'm doing. Okay. So
my hands are open. I handed Kate a ball. She now has the ball. Okay, her ball is medium size. Can you give me back the ball? Thank you. Oh, my ball just got so much bigger. All right, Kate, here's my big ball. What are you gonna, oh, nice. Okay, you kept it big. We could do that back and forth for a while. And it's kind of interesting. A lot of kids will start with a super small ball and then it will get bigger and bigger. Sometimes I ask them if they're able to communicate, what color is your ball? A question I ask a lot of kids when I start groups that I'm amazed by the answer: what color represents how you feel today? Because yes, as an adult, that's actually hard to answer. Some kids have the most, one kid told me that he was like the macaroni and cheese because
that's amazing.
Very neutral. He was just kind of muted today. That's literally what he said. And then I've had a kid say, I'm lime green because I have as much energy as when I'm playing soccer, and that's the color of my jersey. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes, but it's so different than, how are you doing today? They're just gonna say good.
Right. It's so much more creative. There's so much more emotion and personality and personal experience involved in a question like that. I absolutely love that.
And it just adds fun. Another one, I'm not going to make you do this because I feel like as an adult, it's just uncomfortable, but it's called stone face. And so you have a kid go up and he's stone face. He's not going to have any reaction. And then we all pick a word that we can say to try to make him laugh. So our word, it could be, let's have it be pizza. So the only thing we could do is say pizza to try to make stone face laugh. But you can do whatever you want with your body, right? Or you can scream pizza, you can whisper pizza, you can say
interesting
far away. So again, I love these because you have to be in your body, you're thinking about your nonverbals. It's really great because kids laugh immediately. A stone face never lasts that long.
And it's fun.
It's fun. What's great about it too is if I'm like, okay, everyone, let's pick a word. And let's say Mary says pizza. I'll be like, oh, love pizza. Let's do pizza. And I'm moving quickly, right? So it's not like, I try not to even let a kid get to a point they're like, no, wait, I wanted it to be Spider-Man. Because again, you can't pick a wrong word. So if that were to happen, I'd say, great, next word, Spider-Man, keep going and move it along. So I'll play one more game with you. We went over this, everybody. So we'll see.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So this is called gift giving. So you could do this two ways. You could intentionally give someone a gift they won't like. I would do this for someone who's very rigid, right? Who only sees a certain purpose in things. I would intentionally try to give them something they don't like. Someone who also maybe has a hard time taking perspective, I would give them a gift that's super neutral, a lamp. And then for someone who I'm just trying to figure out what they do like, I'd try to give them gifts I think they like. So again, improv, you're not physically giving them anything. So for Kate, let's go with neutral. I'm going to give Kate a lamp. All she has to do is say thank you. You have to say thank you every time because it's a gift and that's kind. That also teaches, even if you get a gift at the holidays and it's not what you want,
and a lamp,
still say thank you, right?
Right.
So you say thank you and what you can do with it. So Kate, here is your lamp.
Thank you so much for this lamp. I am going to put it in my closet for when I read in my closet, because my closet is really dark and there's no lamp in my closet.
I love that. You have a cozy place in your closet for reading.
I
That's
tried to give
perfect.
a really creative answer because
I
I
love
don't read in
it.
my closet, but I love that there's sort of the sky is the limit aspect of this in terms of what you come up with, and there's no wrong answer. That's so great.
So, Kate, can you give me a gift that you think I wouldn't want? So kind of a crappy gift. Kids have given me poop before. That's
okay. Okay. Allie, I just got you this gift at the pet store. It's some cat litter.
Thank you. I am going to bring this to a shelter where they have cats because I don't have one.
Okay. I'm
Right?
so glad that you liked the gift I gave
Yes.
you.
So see how I could have been like, Kate, I don't have a cat, I have a dog. Right? I could have given you attitude, but it's just it's the receptivity, it's the going back and forth. The last thing I'll say, because I know we have to kind of wrap up, is these games are meant to be short. I'm not talking you're doing these for 10 minutes. You're doing this like 2 to possibly 3 minutes. These aren't meant to be really long. They're just meant to establish some rapport, have fun, and either move on to a different game or move on to an intention. I might do this right before, if I was going to read a book or something, I would do a game before and after the book.
I love this. I have one final question for you. Well, 2 final questions, I guess. But the first is, when you're planning for therapy and you are interested in using improv in your therapy, and you obviously have maybe more of a bank of games that you pull from, do you have any strategies for how you match the game to maybe the targets or goals that or objectives that you've written for the clients in your therapy room? How do you go about that process in terms of planning to use improv in therapy?
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to the trajectory that you take as a clinician, right? You're at a point where you're like, oh, this game works for this board game, right? I definitely have started to create my own little list. The book I'll have you reference, the book Maya wrote with all of these games, she does a pretty good job of saying, I would use this for this goal. So you can start to pair it that way. I also try to think about it to what games work for my certain types of kiddos. So that helps me too. If I really have a lot of perspective taking kiddos, I might use certain games that for that age group that's a little tough at times. But perspective taking for a younger kid, that doesn't work. So I try to think about it with age too.
That makes a lot of sense. For anybody who is listening, who is wanting to learn more about improv or would like to begin integrating improv into their therapy, what additional resources? I know you mentioned a book that your friend Maya wrote. Can you tell us a little bit about the book, or maybe point us in some directions for where our listeners can learn more?
Absolutely. So again, that book she researched a bunch of social skills and improv groups and kind of looked at what games work. So there's that. Her and I run classes together a lot. Anyone is more than welcome to come observe and see kind of how that works. And improv really is everywhere. You were saying there's Second City, there's Groundlings in LA, there's groups all over. I would almost just say take an improv class for yourself. There's a lot online now because of COVID, and just see, what that experience is like for you.
That's such a great suggestion. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we covered so much information in a short period of time.
Same.
But I think for me, having no experience with improv, even just thinking about it as a therapy tool that focuses on, these core components, but also that there is no wrong answer, that you can use it to improve, to have more fun when you're addressing some of these skills, is a really powerful message. And we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us in today's episode. As always, you can use this episode for ASHA CEUs. You can also potentially use this episode for other credits depending on the regulations of your governing body. To determine if this episode will count towards professional development in your area of study, please check in with your governing bodies, or you can go to our website, www.slpnerdcast.com. All of the references and information listed throughout the course of the episode will be listed in the show notes. And as always, if you have any questions, please email us at info@slpnerdcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to welcome you back here again soon.